And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here recording on Monday, May 30th, and the Boston Celtics are going to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2010. The first time since, obviously we were old enough and
I was in
there
fifth
to
grade.
appreciate it. Yeah, since we've become adults. For the first time in our adult lives, the Celtics are in the finals after Eastern Conference Finals appearances in 4 of the last 6 years. It finally broke through, took down the Miami Heat in Game 7, although, per usual, did not make it easy on themselves. But at this point, that doesn't matter anymore. You can say it matters because they have to face the Warriors and they have to make adjustments, sure. But in the grand scheme of things, they got here. They can adjust moving forward. They are in the NBA Finals, and I'm elated. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, isn't it nice, right? They sure don't make it easy, now do they?
Hey,
Game.
Derrick White said, if it was easy, it wouldn't be us.
I mean, I was sitting there losing my mind with my dad in the living room. I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna lose! Oh my god, they're gonna lose!"
Brutal.
When Jimmy Butler went to shoot the three, I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that he was gonna make it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Like that to me is I don't know if you ever been in a situation where something happens and you're like, wow, I really could have died right there. But that's what that felt like. I've had situations where I've been on the highway and you brake and you make it and you don't hit the other car.
Just a
You know what I mean?
complete heart dropper. It was just a
Yeah.
complete heart
And you're
dropper.
like, oh wow, and when you think about it, it's kind of scary. You're like, oh wow, I could have just died. And so thinking about that play is like that to me. I think I'm like, oh man, in a million other universes that probably goes in.
It's like the big drop on the roller coaster, except without any of the excitement of being on a roller coaster. And I don't like roller
Well, that's
coasters.
all the excitement. You just won.
Yeah, I guess after winning, who said it? I think it's Gear. Shout out PJ. Messaged me afterwards. He go, people aren't appreciating the fact that Al Horford actually managed to grab the offensive or the rebound after the shot.
I agree with that.
Because he was saying imagine if the Celtics, wouldn't it be the most Celtics thing ever if they gave up
Yes.
an offensive rebound after that Jimmy make? And
I would have went into the
yeah.
stratosphere if that happened.
And then talk
But
about big shot after big shot. Kyle Lowry, Max Strus,
Strus was
man.
really
Oh
good
my god. Down
in
the
the
stretch
fourth
he
quarter
was.
of both of
Yeah.
these last two games.
Yeah. It was brutal. We'll get into all of it, but him and Lowry came up big down the stretch. Bam Adebayo played well. I think this is a side note. It doesn't really have to have anything to do with the Celtics. They need to find better ways of getting him involved rather than, okay, go post up Al Horford, because that's basically how he got all his points, which, it worked. He shot efficiently, but if you're the Heat, you have to imagine you'll be creating some ways for him to get involved other than posting up one of the best defensive big men in the, I don't want to say NBA, but a very good defensive big men
He's pretty good.
in Al Horford. But doesn't matter. Celtics got the job done, and Jimmy Butler still managed to be insane. He was amazing in Game 6 and 7. Tim Bontemps voted him ECF MVP, which I was initially mad at, but I kind of get it. He was definitely the best player in the series, but usually,
Dude, people were real pissed about that. Your brother tweeted at me, and at first I didn't even know why he picked me. I was
I don't know. I think it's because I talked to him, so he was probably just looking for other people's reactions. And I was mad at first too, because it's just kind of
I
that's just
wasn't
kind of
mad. It's just
that's just well,
whatever.
I was only mad because that's kind of his mojo. That's just what Tim Bontemps does. He covers Celtics, but he also doesn't like the Celtics, which is a weird combination. But I understand. He was the best player, so it's I guess hard to argue.
He was the best player in the last
Initially.
two games. I don't know about for the whole series because he was real bad for that stretch there.
Tatum was bad for games too, though. There's a debate. We don't have to get into
It
the
doesn't matter
debate.
to me. Shit, Butler could have had the award for all I care. It doesn't matter. Celtics won.
I also thought
That's all
Jalen
I
Brown,
care about.
and again, the award. Realistically speaking, the award doesn't matter. But I think Jalen Brown should have won the award. I know I picked on him for his turnover struggles. He was full circle moment. I
does
admit.
a complete 180.
Hey, as much as I, shit on Brown for his turnover struggles, he was the more efficient shooter, and he averaged less turnovers than Tatum did. And obviously, there's more to that. There's the rebounding and the passing. Tatum's playmaking was incredible, but I saw Brown as the best player for the Celtics in Game 7. I really thought every time Miami Heat had a momentum swing, scored a bucket, Jalen Brown was there, and he
I
fixed
agree with that.
the biggest thing for me was he fixed all the problems that he had throughout the rest of the series. He was driving into traffic almost every play, but not turning the ball over. I don't know how many he had. I think he had one or two. And the one I saw was him just kind of losing it. But he looked good. He did everything you wanted to do. He didn't even shoot well, but he still had an effective game. So that's what you want. But I mean, Tatum deserved it too. He was great. His playmaking was probably his best asset in that series, which is something you wouldn't imagine us saying a year ago from now. But again, none of it matters. Celtics are in the NBA Finals, taking on the Golden State Warriors. And I mean, you gotta give credit to Al Horford, man. That might have been the best moment to watch him on the ground after being what was the record? The most playoff games played without an appearance in the finals.
141.
Crazy, crazy, man. And now the Celtics, a team with 0 finals games, will be going up against the Warriors team who has a combined
With
123
all the finals
finals games. Yeah, literally. But you got to feel for Al Horford, man. That's amazing. Just a huge congrats.
Yeah, of course, and especially, wanting him to be a part of this team before it actually happened, and then I remember being so excited the day it happened. I'll never forget it. I woke up at like probably 9:30. The trade had already happened. I look over at my iPad and there it is, and I was just so excited. He's just such
Mhm.
a great Celtic. He really enjoys being on the team. He wants to win. He does everything correctly. So there really is no better person to be happy for, I guess. And also his grandfather just passed away, I believe. Not his
Yes,
grandmother.
before Game 6, I
I don't
believe.
want to kill the wrong person. But I believe it was his grandfather, and that he was very close. So that definitely meant a lot to him, and his dad was there and everything. That was a really great moment for Al, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Al. Couldn't have happened to a better dude. He's amazing. He played amazing. His block on Bam was awesome. He played phenomenal defense throughout the entire game, despite the frustrating, I'll use the term whistle in the first half. Obviously, you never want to blame the whistle. The Celtics should have been up, blah, blah, blah. But it was obviously very enraging to at least people on Twitter. And before we get off the topic of Game 7 and talk about, just the series as a whole, players, et cetera, and we can touch on the Warriors series as well. But I think we should do a full pod dedicated to that preview as well because we have the time. Um, I want to talk about just how frustratingly annoying Kyle Lowry is. Just a second,
Yeah, he's the
just
worst.
because. Oh my mom was texting me the whole game, and keep in mind, my mom doesn't really watch basketball. She goes, "Who's that short one on the Heat?" Yeah, I don't like him. Like I was getting texts from people that barely watch basketball saying that guy's annoying, and like it's hard to fully get mad at him because that's the kind of stuff Marcus Smart does. But at the same time, when it's happening and the refs are falling for it, that's when it gets even more frustrating because you look at that. I'm trying to think of the examples. That rebound Al Horford got over him where he just fell after
Yeah, he
like
just
no
fell down.
contact. That was nothing. I tweeted at somebody on Twitter because Marcus Smart, the one where Lowry ran into Smart and Smart was shuffling his feet and they collided and Marcus Smart got called for a
Yeah,
foul.
he
Someone
got 2 of
tweeted,
those,
yeah,
on Marcus.
someone replied to Keith Smith saying his feet weren't set, and I said, "Oh yeah, true, my bad. You're only taught to shuffle your feet on defense when you're 10 years old." Like that's not the point of the argument. Like he wasn't trying to draw a charge. He was trying to play defense and keep him in front of him, and he did that.
Well,
And the ref
that's
just kind of fell for it.
that's the funny thing, isn't it? For the longest time as fans, you kinda understand block versus charge as set, not set, and that's really not what it is. I really feel
And
like it should be moving
legal.
into the guy
Okay.
and not moving into the guy,
Yep.
because if you're going laterally to block him off, it really shouldn't be a charge unless a block unless the guy's already jumped.
Hmm.
Once he jumps, you shouldn't be able to get in front of him because he can't move.
Hmm.
But if you're guarding a
I think
guy
it's once
driving
it
to the basket,
gathers. I think it's gathers, not jumps, but it's effectively the same thing.
dude, I don't know. I mean, that is the most complicated rule in all the land. Really, it is. And that's why these guys get paid a lot of money. And you can clown the refs all you want, but it's not an easy job. And
No,
the
no, no.
response is, well, they're in the NBA and fine. But
Sure.
it's
Yes.
it's definitely not an easy job. Um, but man, I will tell you, Kyle Lowry is the absolute worst. I can't wait till he retires and he's like 500 pounds.
Oh my
Because
god,
he's
get
like
out of
he's
here.
like well on his way and he's still playing. Like
I
once
don't
that
think it's
dude
as bad as you're
no.
saying.
When that guy retires, he's literally like look at Paul Pierce. Like Paul Pierce put on weight. Like it's gonna be like that, but probably a little worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
like
I
Antoine
understand.
Walker, perhaps,
Okay, sure. I understand what you're saying. I don't think it's necessarily as bad as what you're saying, but
Dude, he's the
I see it.
worst.
I don't no, I'm
And
talking
he
about the weight thing.
whine
I don't think he's
I
that.
know, but
Yeah.
he's, like, actually the worst, like, the whining, like, you can say Marcus, like, does all the irritating stuff on the floor, but he really doesn't whine.
Yeah, Marcus
He's
doesn't
not a
Lowry whines
whiner.
more than Marcus.
Tatum is a whiner. Grant Williams is a whiner, but
Shout out my
Marcus is
friend
not.
shout out my friend Mitchell Weiner. I don't know if he's listening.
But, oh
No,
my
yeah,
god, that dude is
I
just the
know.
worst. There is no better satisfaction to me that they've bounced him in 2 Game 7s now because he's the worst.
Mhm.
Lowry. Oh, he's the worst. And good luck to Miami paying him that much money. Did we talk about this, after Game 5? I think we did.
Briefly. Yeah, we talked about the contracts.
Yeah, because we went through all these players I would pay, wouldn't pay. But good
Mhm.
luck to him. I mean, Butler
And
earns his money in that series, but good luck to him.
yeah, I mean, just incredibly frustrating watching Lowry, incredibly frustrating watching Scott Foster and Eric Lewis give him some of those calls, especially at the
Lewis
end of the
wasn't in
second
the
half. It was
game
bad.
yesterday. He was
Who
Game
was it?
6.
Uh,
Capers.
Capers. Sorry, my bad.
Isn't
Yes,
it
he was
bad
game
that we know
6.
all this? And this is not worth really talking about for much longer
I know
because
exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
literally it doesn't matter because they won. And this is the
Mhm.
argument I make every time people start complaining about the refs. Literally just play better. And the Celtics weren't even
Yeah.
that great yesterday. I guess they were probably better than I'm going to give them credit for just because that collapse at the end almost sent me to a mental hospital.
Yeah.
But really, like, one, they won that game wire to wire, which is pretty impressive in a Game 7 on the road. Also, they built that lead all the way up to 13 in the fourth quarter, which is impressive, especially since Miami came out right out of the gates and got it down to 3 out of the break, and then they ballooned it back up. Like, that is
Mhm.
really what you want to see from a championship team. It's unfortunate that Marcus Smart missed those 5 threes in a row. I don't really think they were no, seriously, I don't really think they were
Yeah.
bad shots. Maybe the
No.
last 2 were because you can think, okay, maybe I'll take a step in and just shoot a mid range because he's typically pretty good from the mid range. And also, like, just work to get something else. You can't just chuck and get the ball or give the ball up right away. But listen, just because he missed those shots doesn't necessarily make them bad shots. It's not great in the situation, especially with all the momentum going the other way, and you just couldn't get that last shot to ice the game.
Yeah.
But realistically, if this is a regular season game and like the stakes aren't as high, if he's wide open like that off a catch, that should be fine. And if you're
Any catch and shoot threes, I'm fine with Marcus taking. He hasn't been great, but he hasn't been
like,
bad in the playoffs either. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been a
yeah,
decent shooter in the playoffs. What is he shooting in the postseason so far?
probably
Let me check.
30 something percent. But did you have a massive issue with those shots? At least
No.
maybe the first 3 were fine. And then once he missed 3 in a row, then you kind of are for anybody, you're kind of like, all right, calm down a little bit.
Mhm.
But
Like I said, any catch and shoot looks off of a paint touch, I'm fine with Marcus taking. If I remember correctly, I think one was a little bit contested, but I also know another one was like late in the shot clock. I didn't really have a problem with them at the time. I thought it sucked they didn't go down, but in the moment, I wasn't thinking, "God damn it, Marcus, what are you doing?" You know what I'm saying? Like that.
mm,
That wasn't really my mentality. And as far as we're talking about were the Celtics the better team? Excuse me. The way I described it was uh, I wrote the recap, so I remember making the analogy. Something along the lines of the Heat were like the bug on the windshield wiper, and then the Celtics had to keep running for windshield fluid, like they couldn't get them off anytime, and they'd go to
it's
the gas
true,
station,
man.
they'd get more, they'd wipe them off a little bit, but there'd still be a little remnants left, and then they'd have to go back to the gas station, and then in time it took them to get more. The Heat came back again, but the Celtics were the better team, and they kind of rode the start of the game. Realistically speaking, if they didn't start off as hot as they did, it would have been. I mean, it was a close game, but it would have been even more close because it was technically wire to wire. But um, yeah, they just kind of kept letting the Heat get right back into it, and credit Miami, I guess, for taking advantage of those opportunities because whenever the Celtics missed a shot, missed a layup, Jason Tatum missed what seemed to be 90 million layups in Game 7. Miami ran it back down. Butler and one, Lowry and one, Adebayo and one. They'd get all these momentum shots. They gave Vincent, 4-point play, which wasn't a foul, but whatever.
Yeah. Do you want me to complain about that? Like,
If you'd like to.
that's literally what I say all the time. Like, that's not a foul. It's never a foul. What is he supposed to do there? And not to mention that was an open shot for Vincent. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was a
Yeah.
good shot. He was open. But you can't be rewarding guys for taking contested threes. Like, typically, that's just
Yes.
not a good shot. And should the defender be reckless? No.
That
But
wasn't a foul.
just because you shoot and fall down doesn't mean it should be a foul. This is starting to get ridiculous. And in the offseason, I really hope that the league puts more emphasis on this. They did a great job this season getting rid of the foul baiting. There's a lot less of it now. But man, that is annoying to watch. If you're out at the park playing with your friends or whatever, even if they're not your friends and you're just playing pickup, dude, nobody is doing that. Nobody is taking a jump shot and falling
No,
down because you were close to them. That just doesn't happen.
no, it doesn't. I'm looking at the play now, and it like Horford very clearly steps to the side, and the only contact that is made before Gabe Vincent falls down and springs his legs into him is the hand, which we've determined. I don't know if that's a foul because it's gotten called back on Luca when Luca hit Smart's hand and they called it a
Mhm.
foul and then they said it wasn't. But then every time the Celtics do it, it's a foul. So eh, there's so much inconsistency just throughout the course of the season and even throughout the course of a game. Like you look at Lowry's charge on that he drew on Jalen Brown. 5 minutes later, Marcus Smart got called for a charge or a blocking foul against Jimmy Butler, which was the exact same play. Just there's no consistency in the way games are refed, and I am complaining, but it doesn't matter because the Celtics won, like you always say. But it's frustrating when it's inconsistent, and there were calls that were bad for the Heat too, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and say the Heat got called a perfect game and the Celtics got screwed. Obviously not. There
What
were
do you think of the
bad calls both
Strus
ways,
3
but
that they
I don't
went
know.
back?
It was close. I dislike the notion that saying, "Oh," I saw someone compare that to the Kevin Durant toe 3-pointer. Like we feel you, Nets fans now because our season got screwed because not the same thing, not even close to the same thing. One was at the final second shot of a buzzer beater in heading to overtime, and one was in the second quarter or third quarter. Not the same thing. I understand the momentum swing, et cetera, but like if Strus hits that three, that doesn't mean the Heat win the game. And they also lost by 4, so it doesn't even
Well,
mathematically made sense.
this
Obviously
situation would
momentum.
have been different, but
Of course, it would have changed the situation, but it was not the same as the Kevin Durant toe 3-pointer that quite literally would have won them the series.
if the
You
game
know what I'm
was
saying?
reversed, we'd all be talking about it.
You'd be mad, yeah. I
We'd
mean,
be
I'd be
talking
mad.
about it.
I I
There
haven't
have
seen
been
a good
moments
angle
where
of it.
the Celtics have had that happen to them. It hasn't been in a game 7 in the conference
Mhm.
finals. But I remember specifically there was a game, I don't remember who they played, but Pritchard had one that was the same thing. And I just remember being like, "Can they do that?"
It is weird that they can go back and change it. I'll give Heat fans that. It's
You know
kind
what
of
the weirdest thing to me
yeah.
was? After in game 6, which we have not talked about, which was a disaster. I was unhappy yesterday to even have to watch a
Mhm.
game. But in game 6, when they called the foul at the end of the game that they overturned into a charge when Oladipo was out of the circle, and they
Yes.
reviewed that without a challenge. Isn't that the whole point of the challenge, that
Yeah,
you
that was
don't
also
have
whack.
those reviews anymore?
Except there's like a weird contingent in the rule that allows for that specific review to check if they're inside or outside of the circle, which is dumb,
That's stupid.
which is also dumb.
And
But
that doesn't change the
yeah,
game either. I mean, they
yeah,
still were down 4-6 at the time, but it was just like the whole point of the challenge is so that doesn't happen anymore.
yeah.
That's just something else.
Upon looking at the shot, it's so tough to tell. Like it very clearly
It's
hovers over
close.
the line. Like, but then the debate is if your foot hovers over the line, are you out of bounds? And if not, then did his heel touch down at the line at any point? Clearly, the NBA thought it was close enough and that they wiped it away. Uh, like you said, I'll be the first to admit that if I was a Celtics fan and that happened to me, I'd be mad. If that happened to a Celtics player, I'd be pissed off as well. So I'm not going to sit here and say, shut up, Heat fans. But I'm also going to say that Strus making that shot, while it does change the momentum of the game, does not automatically mean the Heat would have won if Strus made that shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, sure, maybe it could have been a closer game, et cetera, et cetera. But like the notion that the Heat got screwed, they would be in the NBA Finals right now if the NBA did this. Not really that black and white, and I really dislike the notion that it's the same as the Kevin Durant thing because again, one's in the third quarter and one happened at the buzzer of an overtime or of a game that went to overtime. That would have been over if his foot wasn't on the line. But regardless, doesn't matter anymore. Celtics are in the finals. Shout out Jimmy Butler. I mean, you can't really ask for much more from him. Do you have a problem with the shot that he took? I've seen this going around on Twitter
No,
a lot.
I mean, I thought the
Okay.
shot was going in. No. I mean, if I was on the other side, you can nitpick moments like that in a close loss all the time. You'd say, "What if this play went different? What if that play
Apparently,
went
there were a
different?"
lot of Heat fans on Twitter, like, shitting on
Of
Jimmy for
course
that
they
shot,
were. I
which
mean, you
is
would if it was the other way around, you would be. All of us would be questioning it today. Should he have taken that shot? Should he have gone to the basket?
mhm.
Dude, I don't think there's a single person that thought that shot wasn't going in.
Yeah.
And
I mean
he's been pretty good. And mind you,
exactly.
that Jimmy Butler is not traditionally a good three-point shooter. However, a three-pointer in that scenario is an easier shot than any other three. He's literally walking into a three. Like, there is no other shot I'd rather, like, have someone take as a three. I'm sorry. And it looked good. He just missed. It's just unlucky. Spoelstra said he was fine with it. Like, I get it. I get nitpicking and like, oh man, dissecting. Oh man, if he just went in, they could have went to overtime and the game could have went longer. But I mean, it didn't happen. And in my opinion, it's a good shot. And I'm on the other end of it. And I don't think he's a good 3-point shooter, but in the situation where he was red hot, they were on a run, like, I don't know. It's an appropriate time for that shot.
My thing is, he's been so hot. He's been your best player by far, the best player in the series. He earned the right to take that shot. I'll put it that way. I have no problem with Jimmy Butler taking that shot. If it was Jason Tatum and he did the same thing, would there be frustration mounting and the Celtics lost because of this, blah, blah, blah? Sure. But from a neutral fan perspective, I don't have a problem with Jimmy taking that shot. And that was kind of the general consensus I got from neutral fans on Twitter as well. He's playing so well. He played so well in game 6. He was really, outside of, I guess, Bam, the only player to have anything going on offense. Could you have attacked Al Horford? Sure. Is it smart to attack Al Horford in the paint? Maybe
Yeah, I
not.
mean, Horford's not a
Um,
bum.
he
He's
was
not a
backing
bum.
he was backing up though, momentum. You've got all this, blah, blah, blah. Could he have taken an extra step and hoped Al Horford took an extra step back? Sure. You know, people are saying he didn't want to go to overtime because he was tired. Maybe Jimmy Butler was kind of saying, I saw a shot to win the game. I took it. I have no problem with it. I'll leave it at that, I guess. I don't think there's an issue with the shot. He earned it. But yeah,
I
that's
I
basically.
honestly am having like anxiety talking about it because like I just can't believe that didn't go in. Thinking about like that moment of
Yeah.
time, like watching it, I was like, oh my god, they just lost. I was like, they
Yep.
just blew a 13-point lead with 3 minutes left. I was like, oh my god, they just lost. I was like
Yeah.
hysterical. It was bad. Like I was like an adult like child.
And
I
then
was like me and my
after it,
dad were
how'd you
sitting
feel?
there.
How'd you feel after you missed it?
I was relieved. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe you just missed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, we can move on to other things. Report: Celtics are giving Al Horford the full money next season, no matter what. They're going to bring him back, 26.5 million, no matter what happens in the NBA Finals. He is going to be a Boston Celtic next season. Thank God. I'm perfectly happy with that.
All of a sudden they don't want to be cheap anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there was something that said,
It comes with
y-
winning.
yes,
Comes with
someone.
winning. You start winning, they're like, all right, here's some money.
Well, he tweeted. Well, he if he was on the roster, he'd get the 26.5 anyways.
Mhm.
The non-guaranteed money is only if they release him. So like it doesn't matter if he's on the roster, he'll get the 26.5 anyways. Basically, they're just saying like he's gonna be back. So they're bringing Al back, which is great. Um, I was also gonna say the other thing. Speaking of money, if the Celtics win the finals, they have no longer dipped to the luxury tax because they're around 358,000 below it right now. But if they win the finals, they will go above it. But if they lose the finals, they will stay below it thanks to some guarantees or clauses in Jalen Brown's contract. Then again, I don't think Wick would mind paying luxury tax if they win a title.
Dude,
So
I want them to win the
yeah,
title more out of spite.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I
Because
brought this
I
up.
mean, at the trade deadline, I was furious that I mean, listen, they did an excellent job at the trade deadline. They
Phenomenal.
took out the right pieces and brought in the correct pieces.
I still think it's a crime Brad Stevens wasn't top whatever for executive of the year, but
Who
continue.
won?
Uh, Grizzlies, I think.
What
I
did they
think
even do?
executive of the. I mean, just drafting well, bringing the right pieces. Steven Adams trade.
I
Uh,
guess, but dude,
just
look at
good,
this.
good
This
roster
team goes
construction.
hard, man. Like
I think just good roster construction. I'm looking to see more.
it's so funny that
Assembled a roster that finished second best record in the NBA this season. Single franchise record for victories. Uh, John Morant, I don't know, just development, etc., putting the right pieces around. Steven Adams trade, Zaire Williams trade. I think that is about it. But yeah.
I'm telling you, man. Brad knew that this team was good that he had as a coach, and he was like, "Wow, I miss all these guys," and he brought them back.
Yep.
Once Horford left, they really missed him, and bringing him back was huge. That dude rules. He's just such a great team player. I'm real happy he's getting the chance to play in the finals. I hope they win. Obviously, I hope they win. And we can talk more about that in a separate episode because that sounds like a good idea to me. But seriously, that's crazy that they've had this opportunity. The dude was literally sitting out last year because they didn't want him to play in OKC, and now he's an impact player on this championship series team.
Yeah, just incredible. Brad Stevens received 1 first place vote, 4 second place votes, and 3 third place votes. He finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in the
That's
voting for
criminal.
executive of the year. Those above him, man, you can tell me whether or not they deserve to be above him. I think he probably should have won the award, but you can tell me if it's criminal. The person being above them. Grizzlies #1, he won it. What do you think? Ridiculous. Not good.
They didn't really do anything.
Well, in terms of moves, I understand, but he put together.
That's what I mean. Like in terms of like moves, like there was no like real shift in the team.
I know. I think the thought process was it's basically an entirely drafted or traded for team. You know what I'm saying? Like he made all the moves, put this roster together. It just took a year for it to flourish. I understand your argument too, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. Kobe Altman, Cleveland GM, finished second. Evan Mobley draft. The Jared Allen trade, I guess, carried over, and he extended Jared Allen into this season.
Man, that team didn't even make the playoffs.
True.
They didn't make the playoffs, man.
I was just explaining. I was just explaining the moves. Arturas Karnisovas, Chicago, DeMar DeRozan signing.
What?
Lonzo Ball signing.
No, they seriously did do a lot to change that team up, but the team still kind of sucked.
46 wins.
Lonzo was very good when he was healthy.
They had a good season, not a great season.
Dude, teams were ducking to play them in the playoffs.
This is true.
Really?
Next is James Jones, Phoenix.
Okay, that's fair. But really, what did they do? What did they do differently?
Brought in JaVale McGee. They didn't extend DeAndre Ayton. I don't know if there were many other changes that were made. They brought in Alfred Payton. Yeah. No.
Well, they overachieved this year. You know, they went much further than they did last season.
And the last person to finish above Boston was Pat Riley, Miami.
I mean, that's fair though. They had a lot of. See, I think that's almost more impressive than any other team, just because all those guys they have that are important players on their team are like guys they got for nothing.
Yep, brought in Kyle Lowry. He's obviously not nothing, but signed Kyle Lowry, signed PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris.
Most of that series, he was nothing.
They found Max Strus, got him on a new contract, league minimum, which is crazy. Omer Yurtseven, league minimum contract. Gabe Vincent, league minimum contract. Pat Riley and Brad Stevens probably should have been 1-2. I understand the Chicago argument as well. I think those guys probably should have been 1, 2, 3. And after Brad Stevens, the only other guys to receive first place votes, Toronto, Milwaukee, Minnesota. Those are the last 3 teams to get some first place votes, which I guess understandable. I mean, I don't really know what Milwaukee did. They kind of just ran back the same team, but lost PJ Tucker.
They lost PJ Tucker. They replaced him with Ojale.
Yep, huge. Toronto, Scotty Barnes, draft pick, I guess, is good enough to earn you a vote. That's pretty impressive. The bringing in Precious Achiuwa for nothing was good too. And then Minnesota, what did Minnesota do? Jared Vanderbilt, new contract, signing Patrick Beverly, I guess, igniting that new culture. Sure.
Right.
I had no problem with that.
But
anyways, Brad Stevens got gypped is the point I'm making. But speaking of the trade deadline, I also wanted to bring this up. There's something on Twitter today. Someone wrote an article for Celtics blog a while ago called Why the Derrick White Trade Was a Disaster. Freezing Cold Takes, a Twitter account, tweeted it out. Someone just responded to my response saying, give us authors at and or forgive the blog as a whole. But I tweeted out my response saying some of us knew, and it was an article I put out in response the same day
Mhm.
saying the Derrick White trade was a massive win for the Celtics. And I'm feeling pretty good about that article right now. I know you didn't love it at the time, and I'm not saying you were adamantly
I
against it. I
didn't
don't think
hate
you
it.
cared,
My
but you
stance
liked
was I really liked
Rich.
Richardson, and I was like,
But
"Damn, like, they're probably about the same level of player," which it turns out that they are not.
Derrick White,
Um,
man, just
Derrick
and
White was real good in those last 4 games of the series.
since he became a dad,
Yeah.
the dad strength, and he didn't even have an amazing game last night, but you know what he did? He hit his threes, which is
He hit
everything
big threes.
anybody. Yes. Derrick White, man. It's impossible to love that guy. He says everything correctly. He plays the game the right way. He plays hard. He rarely complains. And when Derrick White complains, you know the foul call is probably some bullshit, as evidenced by the last 2 minute report calls in Game 6 on him that were deemed as incorrect calls. So you gotta love Derrick White, man. He's been awesome since the trade. What did I write in my tweet? Because I tweeted out the pictures. I said it's totally fair to dislike the trade. Everyone is completely entitled to their own opinions, but adding White to the mix improves this team both right now and for the future. Looking at the surface, trading Richardson, Langford, and picks might seem like a lot, but when you dig a little deeper, this trade was a clear win for Stevens and the Celtics. And I don't think anything more can be said. And I even saw someone tweet out, "Someone find me the stats of how many 2027 first round picks have made the NBA Finals, and I'll start talking," which I thought was funny as well. But Derek White, I mean, not enough good things you can say about him.
Oh, he was great. And he was mentally strong. It felt like he made all the big shots.
He's like a guard version of Horford. That's the way I can phrase
Yeah,
it.
fair.
That's how I see it. Yeah.
Horford made some pretty big shots. Just he missed some big ones too. But
In terms of his composure and professionalism, is what I mean. Like this is what I mean when I call him the Marcus Smart without the I don't want to say drama, without the antics. He's Marcus Smart without the antics, which you love the antics as a Celtics fan, but it's also nice to have another guy on the roster who does the same things, but has the same thing. And I'm not saying Marcus Smart's not professional, but you understand my point. I'm
this
trying to make.
roster is really made up of a bunch of good dudes.
It's awesome. Yeah,
Like really like from the top down, like Ime
there's
seems
no
like a real
hateable
good
player.
guy.
Like past
Well,
rosters, there's always been a hateable player.
yeah, like
Not this
Kyrie
one.
was a prick. Towards the end, Rondo was kind of a prick.
And not even like personality wise, just in terms of how they fit into the team. There's nobody on this roster that is like going back to earlier this season. I was just talking to Zoe this morning, and I was saying this is really the same team that Dennis Schroeder and Ennis Freedom were on. This is that team.
I
This
feel
is the
bad for Schroeder, man, or however you're supposed to say his name. Like,
you have
yeah,
he has
he
a
was
Celtic
not a good
tattoo.
fit. Yeah, I saw that today on Twitter.
Crazy,
Well, good for him.
crazy to me. I mean, he's clearly a nice guy. I just didn't like his fit.
He
But
didn't fit well. I mean, he wasn't. He didn't seem to be an issue in terms of chemistry and like pissing people off, like that kind of
yeah,
sense. Like,
it just
didn't
didn't
fit
fit well
well. The best
for
the
sure.
best thing is Derrick White. That was very good.
He's awesome.
I'm glad he fits in well. I'm glad they've had success. This is just a
Hmm.
team you really like to root for, and you see. Listen, I don't remember as much when I was younger when they were in the finals, but I mean, people are really into this. Like
Yeah,
they really like these guys.
it's great. I mean, it's easy to get behind a team that gets to the finals. I'll say that. So there's definitely some bandwagons, but all aboard! Come on, come through. We need the support. Well, they don't need it, but you love the support. You love to see the
Dude,
city
listen to
getting
some
behind the
podcasts to
Celtics.
educate yourself. Perhaps this one.
From the Rafters, man. At From Rafters Pod on Twitter. Check it out.
Mm.
Check it out. But yeah, man, it's great to see. And even the bench guys, right? They have. I'll make the comparison to Theo Pinson, who I don't know if you're a fan of or not, but you know what I'm
No, he
saying.
was.
Like
Well, he was on this team, by the way.
he was, but he's very well known around the league for being that a good culture guy. Look at Malik Fitz and Matt Ryan, man. Those two, I'll keep pointing to them.
Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan,
Seriously.
who doesn't even like dress.
Well, it doesn't matter because he's a two-way guy. He's not eligible to play.
That's
But
fine, but he's still fire. Like it's just so funny.
did you
Like
see the video of him hugging Horford at the game?
I don't know.
I'll bring it up right now. If you're on YouTube, you can watch it. But just like hearing the way they all interact, like he interacts with them, it's very clear that he's like it's a culture thing. Like it's very clear that he's deeply embedded in Celtics culture. He's loud. It seems like he's the type of guy who's loud in the locker room. He's very involved, very animated. Malik fits too, but like, just watch this here. I have it. I have it here. If you want to take a look. Can you hear it?
I cannot hear it.
Okay, wait a second. Wait a second. Let me bear with us. Technical difficulties. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but excuse me. I can share entire screen and share system audio. Okay, let me know. Can you see it now?
I can see
You
it.
see? All right, ready? Ready? There you go. Okay. It's a great video. Just Horford lying on the floor. Listen to Matt Ryan. Just him like screaming at Horford.
Okay, I am gonna send you something else that I want you to play.
Okay, okay, yeah. Send it on Twitter.
We don't
I'll
have to
find it
like play
here.
it right this second, but this is the best thing I've seen today.
All right. For those listening, Matt Ryan basically just going up. You can see it on ESPN. The comment is Al Horford let it all out after reaching his first NBA Finals, and Matt Ryan just comes over and starts yelling "OG" and like starts screaming. I just love Matt Ryan and the vibes he brings, and that's the perfect word, just vibes. Him and Malik Fitz are just the perfect dynamic duo.
Well, it's good. These guys,
Sam
they
sent
want to
me
be here, man.
Sam sent
This
me a
is the
link to a
greatest.
Celtics fan. I don't know if the people
Have
listening
you
can hear
seen
the audio,
this?
but no, I haven't. But I'll listen.
Well, if I mean, I'm sure they can hear the audio if I can hear it.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, I can't hear it if you're watching it now.
Oh, you. Oh, I
You have to share your screen,
yeah,
dummy.
my dumbass.
See, look
Stop
now
sharing.
your genuine reaction is gone.
I know, but hey, it was a
Once
good
I see it,
genuine
I'm gonna have a
reaction.
reaction because this is fire. All right, here we go. You got to put the sound on. I can't hear it.
Oh my god, StreamYard giving me hell. Just share the screen, the audio automatically. StreamYard, please. All right, Here we go. Here we go. System audio for you. There you go.
2008, I was 7 old. That's the last time we won. I mean, let's go Celtics.
That guy is the best.
Hey, what a beast, man. You don't know him, right? Like
No, I don't know him. I obviously like get up early for work, and I think that guy who tweeted is an anchor at BC, so he's up doing the morning show. But that guy, the fan, is just the best. And if you haven't seen it, he's obviously like out near the Garden, probably at Timmy G's Game 7 party there at Big Night Live,
Yep.
and he's got, I believe it's a Bird jersey on. I could be wrong, and well, you can't really tell.
Yeah, you
But
can't tell,
he's got the basketball hat on with Lucky on the front.
it
And
looks
he
like a
is
number
your
8
typical guy.
jersey.
Okay.
No, not number 8. It's one number.
It
but
might be
looks like
Tatum.
yeah, it's probably a Tatum jersey. It could be a 0, yeah.
But that guy, he's everything. He might be
I
the
hope
new
you
Celtics or the Balls guy.
I hope you can hear in the recording. I assume you can if Sam could hear it, but I mean,
I'd imagine you can. But he is just giving it all out there.
I'm so amped up, man. This finals is gonna be good, and I know you don't hope for a good series. I know you hope you blow them out, but
I'd love to see a sweep. Absolutely, is in
you
the
are
Celtics' favor. I'd love to see a sweep.
for as long as I've known you, the Warriors have been your second team. So I
I
know
I
in your heart,
appreciate the Warriors.
I know in your heart, you know this is gonna be a good series.
It
You know
sucks because I was thinking about it today. I'm like, damn, I have to start like disliking Draymond.
I was
Like, I
just
don't
gonna
have
bring that
to.
up.
I don't have to, but I know it's gonna happen. I'm gonna be
I
like,
was
this
gonna
guy
ask
is a
you.
prick.
I was gonna ask you. I know you like Draymond,
I
but
do like
as you
Draymond,
watch the
man.
series, he carries himself like Kyle Lowry did in that Heat series.
But
So
the
I feel like
difference
you're gonna
is, like,
dislike
before the Raptors series a few years ago, like, I still didn't like Lowry. Like, I thought he wasn't good, and I was like,
I remember that.
this guy's just like, like, in Draymond's, like, won and been a big part of them winning, like,
Well,
that
so is
Raptors
Lowry.
team that Raptors team really felt like a carry job by Leonard, and that's you can't convince me otherwise. I don't care what stats you pull, that's just what it felt like. And the Warriors are such a complete team where all those guys matter, and Draymond is so plugged in with those guys and knows where they're going to
Yep.
be, and they have such good chemistry to where he is an essential part of them winning.
Yes.
And also, I think Draymond would be an excellent Celtic, and he almost joined the team in 2015, he said on his podcast. I
Yeah.
remember listening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll always kind of have respect for that dude, but he's going to piss me off over the next 2 weeks.
The way I phrased it is it's kind of going to feel like Steph Curry versus Jason Tatum, Klay Thompson versus Jaylen Brown, and Draymond Green versus Marcus Smart. And then you also have obviously Jordan Poole, Al Horford, Andrew Wiggins, Robert Williams, all these guys on the bench, etc. But Draymond Green versus Marcus Smart is going to be a series, man. Like it's going to be phenomenal. Those two are two of the fiercest competitors in the NBA. If there's one guy I would put above Marcus on that list, not saying I would, but like if I had to choose, it would be Draymond. Watching them battle, it's gonna be crazy. And for the Enjoy Basketball newsletter, which I write every Sunday with King of the Fourth Quarter Kenny, I talked about some advantages and disadvantages in the series, and we can get into a deep dive of the preview, but off rip in the last few minutes we were recording here, I'll get your thoughts on these. And these were I did one advantage and one disadvantage for each team heading into the series. And this is what I came up with. Let me excuse me, let me scroll to this here. The first advantage for the Warriors is experience. I mean, obviously they know the moment.
Yep.
They've been here before, the finals game stats. So that was the advantage I gave them. The advantage I gave the Celtics was defense. I know the Warriors have a great defense too, but they haven't had to face a defense like the Celtics yet. If you think about the teams they faced teams who, realistically speaking, one guy will kill you. They faced Jokic and the Nuggets. They faced John Morant and the Grizzlies, and Morant was hurt for half the series. So it was really like, Dylan Brooks and the Grizzlies. And then they faced Luka and the Mavs. They faced three teams where it's one spearhead guys and a bunch of role players. And that's a bit disrespectful to the Grizzlies. But with Ja's injury, it just like it makes even more sense. The Celtics have two of the best individual scorers in the NBA. I'm not saying the Warriors are unable to guard Tatum and Brown, but it's not going to be easy, and it's unlike anything they've had to face in the playoffs. And obviously, the Celtics are the best team against the Warriors over the last 7 years. Disadvantages for the Warriors, it is just that guarding multiple weapons. They haven't had to guard them, et cetera, et cetera. Like they're going to have to. Celtics can attack Curry and Poole if they needed to. And for the Celtics defense, obviously, you have enough wing defenders to give the Warriors fits. I think I flipped my arguments there. For the Celtics defense as an advantage, I meant to say they haven't had to face a defensive team that doesn't have any holes. Right? You look up and down the roster outside of Peyton Pritchard, there's nobody in the Celtics lineup that I don't trust to guard Steph Curry for sticks.
Even Pritchard, man, I mean, he's not going to guard Curry, but he's really not that bad defensively, and he did a real good job on Tyler Hero at points in this Heat series.
Yes.
He's not somebody that's just going to roll over. He's not Kemba when he didn't have his knee in that bubble playoffs. Like,
my point is there's nobody for the Warriors to attack, really. And I agree with that because he tries is what Pritchard does, which is all you need from him. And then the disadvantage for the Celtics is I just wrote collapses. Like these collapses won't fly against the Warriors.
No, it won't.
They barely flew against the Heat, and the Warriors have
the Heat kind of suck, man. I'm sorry. Listen, I know you disagree and you think they're a much better team than what you saw, but dude, they should have beat them in like 5 games. I'm sorry. Like they should have. The Celtics shot themselves in the foot more times than you can count. And they almost did like a nice grand finale for all of us to watch. But seriously, that Heat team sucks.
I saw something on Twitter that said, I wish I could, it was like from a Heat fan. It said, I wish I could sit back and say at least the better team won, but they didn't. And I was just like,
what? That team sucks. Besides, no, because now I'm going to defend this. Jimmy Butler was fantastic, right? He was great.
I love Jimmy.
Bam was pretty good for the most part. Besides that, the rest of those dudes suck. Or at least they sucked in that series. That doesn't mean they're bad players overall, I guess. It's really not fair to say. But in that series, the team that was out there against the Celtics sucked. It's embarrassing that it went to 7 games, especially with game 6 and the way it went. It's just bad. Like those dudes sucked in that series. Like Lowry was bad in that series. He had that one game 6. He was decent. Besides that, he sucked.
Yep.
Max Strus sucked in most of that series. I mean, you name it. Hero didn't even play, and when he did play, he wasn't that effective. And he had good game 1. That was it.
Bam.
I said Bam. He was pretty good.
Okay. Anyways, I disagree. I think the Heat team's a good team, and they'll be back. But
I'm not saying they won't be back. I just think they sucked in this series. And it's kind of embarrassing that it went this far.
Fair enough. Celtics, I think, were the better team as well. Anyways, we can wrap it up there. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, man, I'm tired. I will say to kind of piggyback on the points you made, though, the collapses will not go. It won't happen. It will not work in this series against Golden State. Your margin for error is so much smaller now. Imagine against Milwaukee, right? Milwaukee, they were pretty good. They only collapsed once, and when they did collapse, it really hurt them, and they paid
Yeah.
for it. But in that Bucks series, those games were all important, and they really didn't slip up that often. In this Heat series, they slipped up countless times. Game 1, they slipped up. Game 3, they slipped up at first, got all the way back, and slipped up again. Game 5, they were great. Game 6, they slipped up. They couldn't execute down the stretch. They went up 3 and then crapped themselves. And they almost did it at the end of Game 7. Keep your eyes open for this. And I also want to say, heading into the Warriors series, I'm hoping this rest helps out Rob, who did not look to be 100%. However, he still did some good things. You know, he was there.
Yeah,
did his job
for sure. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll have a Warriors Celtics preview out for you somewhat soon. I think we might try to get. It's an idea I hadn't even told Sam this. I'm springing on him, but try to get the Warriors guy in. Try to get unbiased opinions. Maybe that won't gel with you, but
I don't think I'm biased with this series.
That's what I was gonna say. I know you like the Warriors, so it might not be as biased as sometimes it can be, but we'll get someone in, get both perspectives.
We could
just
just
explain the Warriors.
I also kind of
would saying.
I've been thinking about it. And I really think it would have been great after Game 6 to do this. To get Andrew Doxey back, I think he'd be a good guest.
We'll get him on.
I don't know if he's around or if he's super busy right now, but I wouldn't mind talking to him before this.
We'll try to get Andrew on sometime soon. I mean, we have a nice little gap here. We can get a Warriors guy and Andrew on and get a few podcasts for you before the final start.
Oh boy, that's a busy week.
We'll get a busy weekend, you know? You know how it goes. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Check out From the Rafters on Twitter at From Rafters Pod, and I'll throw it over to Sam.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for listening or watching, and celebrating the win as we have been doing. If you're watching, you're on YouTube, probably on Guy Boston or Bannertown. That's the case. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channels. That way you can catch everything we do. And if you're on Guy Boston, you can catch the pre and halftime shows we've been doing. The halftime show has been new. They've been heated. Jack told me to shut the fuck up yesterday, and it was fine. Jack, you felt bad about that. I was like, dude, don't worry about it.
I don't blow up often. You know that, so.
I didn't even think I really deserved it. That's the thing. I was like, I didn't even do anything, man.
I was just mad.
I was just pissed off.
What happened was you, I think, unintentionally interrupted the argument that I was making with a point that I was directly about to argue against. So in my head, I was like, this motherfucker. This is exactly what I was about to say, and so I just got mad. So that's where my head was at. Because you said something like,
I don't even remember what it was.
I don't even remember either, but it was exactly.
I mean, listen, I was so miserable to where I
rightly so. It was.
I didn't even want to be watching a game yesterday. Like, I was miserable before we even did the pregame. I was like, man, mind you, before we completely wrap, I will put you in perspective as a listener. I am a big Liverpool fan. So 4 years ago, in 2018, the Celtics played Cleveland. They went up 3-2. They lost Game 6 on Friday. Liverpool were in the Champions League final against Real Madrid. They lost the final on Saturday. And then the Celtics came home and lost Game 7 on Sunday. That was a very painful experience. And here I was, riding high Friday morning, saying there's no way they lose this Game 6, which is not something I ever say with the Celtics. I'm typically very cynical. But I said there's no way they'll lose. The Celtics lose Game 6 on Friday. Liverpool lose the Champions League final, which they should have won, by the way. This is different than the last time. Last time they were dogs. This time they were favored. And they lose to Real Madrid. And then here we go on Sunday for Game 7. But the Celtics, they did it, man. They kept Sam off the old electric chair.
Jesus.
Right?
You and LeBron rooting for the same soccer club. How's that feel?
Well, listen, it makes me feel a little bit better about them losing. But anyways, if you're listening on a streaming service, you can follow the pod. That way you get it before it's tweeted. Jack, we have the new Twitter account at From Rafters Pod.
Bingo.
Which has been getting the new pods out there, which has been great.
Sure.
And also other content, a couple tweets there. And you can follow that. You can follow at Jack Simone NBA. Jack does all kinds of work. He does the Enjoy Basketball newsletter. He writes on Celtics blog. He's all over the place. Heavy.com, you name it, he's on it. And you can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA if I want to complain. Yesterday, I got a good amount of likes complaining about them saying Game 7 is the best 2 words in sports, which it is not, especially when you lose Game 6.
Brutal.
But anyways, thank you very much for listening. That's our show.
Tic-tac-toe.